Welcome to the training site for DERA's Environmental Farming Scheme. This training is an introduction to the EFS wider level option, creation of arable margins, 6 meters width, rough grass. You will need to watch this video, and this is followed by a number of questions which you have to answer. Further details about the Environmental Farming Scheme are on the DERA website. This includes the information sheet for each of the options. This training covers a number of aspects of the option, explaining what it is and why you might establish it. It gives some advice as to where is a good situation to establish it, then covers things that you must do and must not do according to the scheme specification. It outlines the type of checks that DERA will carry out as their responsibility. It gives the payment rate and finishes with some practical advice to help you make a success of the project. Basically, this is about establishing a 6 meter wide arable margin sown with a mixture of tussock forming and fine grasses. It is established in the first scheme year in an arable field, and it is managed by cutting and controlled grazing. The margin has to be retained for the duration of the environmental farming scheme. Reasons why you might want to establish it is that it provides habitat for overwintering invertebrates. These would include bumblebees, butterflies, and a range of other insects. And it also provides nesting and foraging sites for farmland birds and small mammals. A good location to establish it is in margins which are in arable fields and are suitable for cultivation, sowing, and cutting the grasses. Also on the same site and adjacent to arable crops grown each year for the duration of the EFS agreement. Ideally, the margin should be sited adjacent to woodland, scrub, hedgerows, or waterways. In terms of the amount of the option required, the amount that is detailed in the agreement is the amount that must be done. There's a minimum overall of 0.1 hectares, and the maximum area will be as per the maximum agreement value. The option is established in year 1 and must be retained and maintained in the same area for the duration of the EFS agreement. You must adhere to the scheme requirements and controls as detailed in the option information sheet, and these are summarised here and in the next slide. You must establish the approved area in an arable field by the 1st of September in year 1 of the EFS agreement. You must also retain and manage it in the same location for the duration of the EFS agreement. In addition, you must establish a margin with an average width of 6 meters. That is 6 square meters per 1 meter length of margin on average. You must sow a mixture of 15% tussock forming grasses and 85% fine grasses, though these must exclude ryegrass. And you must use a recommended seed rate of 20 kilograms per hectare. In terms of the tussock forming grasses, which are 15% of the mixture, these should be cocksfoot, timothy, and Yorkshire fog. And in terms of the fine grasses, which are 85% of the mixture, these will include a number of fescues, two types of meadowgrass, 2 types of bent, sweet vernal grass, crested dog's tail, and meadow foxtail. You must in year 1 sow and cut the sward 3 times in the 12 months following sowing to achieve successful establishment. You must cut once again in either year 3 or year 4. and you must remove or shred and spread the bulky cuttings, and you also must exclude livestock for 12 months following sowing, and thereafter exclude livestock from the 1st of March to the 31st of July in each of the subsequent years. You must keep evidence of the seed mix used, and this can be from invoices or labels or individual species weights and quantities supplied. You must also keep field records detailing the area established, the location, the dates, the seed mixture, and all the management requirements, including integrated pest management. And if you're working as part of the EFS higher level, then you must establish, retain, and manage everything as detailed in the site-specific remedial management plan. As indicated, records need to be kept, and these need to be first of all at field level, and also be kept each year of the works undertaken for this option, and for any capital items associated with an option. You may use the format that is shown here, which is available on the DERA website, or you may prefer to use your own format to keep the necessary records. Please note that there is a separate training module on record keeping, which will give you some help with this aspect of the scheme. You will need to keep agreement level records each year of the two parts of integrated pest management highlighted here. This means indicating, as shown here by ticking a box, that you've assessed whether there are any issues with harmful organisms or pests in the establishment or maintenance of the option in your agreement. And secondly, that you have checked and recorded what measures you have taken to protect the option from such pests. To be eligible to claim for this option, you must follow the scheme specifications as indicated. These specify certain things that must not be done, and these are: you must not apply pesticide after sowing, you must not establish this option on permanent grassland sensitive sites, and you must not sow ryegrass. DERA will verify that the works claimed for have been completed and are up to the required standard. They will carry out checks of various sorts, and these can be office-based administrative checks, or secondly, they can be technologically based checks, such as control with remote sensing, or thirdly, they can be on-site checks, such as rapid field visits or on-the-spot checks. More detail on the type of checking is available on the EFS section of the DERA website. The checks that are carried out by DERA will include that the rough grass margin is established in an arable field by the 1st of September in year 1 of the agreement. They will also check that the same area and location is retained and managed for the scheme duration, and they'll check that an average 6 square meters is available for each 1 meter length of the margin. They will check that the seed mixture is to the required specification, that is 15% tussock forming grasses and 85% fine grasses. They'll check that the sward is cut, removed or sprayed according to the option specification, and they can check that the livestock grazing is in accordance with the scheme specifications. In terms of the payment rate for this option, the payment in year 1 is £841.50 per hectare, and in years 2 to 5, the payment each year is £707 per hectare. There is some advice given in the information, and this is to help you establish and maintain this option successfully. The advice includes some guidance on pesticide use. You do not apply pesticides after sowing, with the exception of spot spraying noxious weeds or invasive species, but you can, however, use approved herbicides pre-sowing. In terms of nutrients, do not apply nutrients either organic or inorganic, as they encourage vigorous, dense grass growth, which could reduce the biodiversity value of the margin. They also encourage growth of ryegrass to the detriment of fine grasses. Also, take care if you're applying nutrients or pesticides to the adjacent crops to avoid drift into the margin. As regards grazing, the advice is no grazing for 12 months after sowing, and graze only in years 2 to 5 from the 1st of August until the end of February, and then graze using a low stocking density and avoid heavy grazing of grass tussocks. And finally, as we come to the last slide of this training video, there are certain things you need to do next. You must now complete the questions for this option which follow after the video. It's essential that you do this so as to register that your training on the option is complete. Secondly, you should read the information sheet that relates to this option. This is available on the lesson site and also on the EFS section of the DERA website. And finally, if you have further options or capital items in your agreement, you can take the training for them after you've completed the questions for this option.